What's up guys, AD back with another Destiny Child video, and in today's video everyone we are going to be heading into the Devil Rumble, and I'll be overviewing this game mode in general as well as recommending some units that you should be using that'll make your life much easier in your climb to Platinum 5. So this will be our team guide here on the channel, as of course this is subject to change, so I'll be sure to update this guide whenever the Devil Rumble meta does take a drastic turn. But before we get started everyone, make sure to leave a like on this video as well as be sure to subscribe to the channel, and of course if you're interested in further supporting the channel, make sure to check out channel memberships down below, and of course a huge thank you to all of the supporters that have joined so far. But with all of that out of the way everyone, let's get started with the Devil Rumble team building guide here on the channel. Now if you're only interested in the unit recommendations, I'll be sure to have a timestamp linked to that portion of the video. Now to get started here with the Devil Rumble, of course this area does consist of a team of 5. Now the team of 5 does typically consist of 4 debuffers and 1 support at this time, but every team varies and you'll come across some niche team compositions every now and then, as of course you could always resort to the ranking here. As you can see on screen, we do have all of the teams of the top 100 players on the global server, so you could always resort to this area of the Devil Rumble and find some team comps that you may be willing to build, as of course all of these are viable since they happen to be the top 100 players on the server. So definitely make sure to resort to the Rumble rank here if you're looking for the meta team compositions, as these teams make it very easy to reach the highest rank. Now of course some teams do consist of defenders, but they aren't too popular, and mono type teams will typically consist of a defender such as the fire teams, and of course mono water may become viable if the upcoming Paquette buffs, who is a water type defender, manages to work well with the current water team core, which typically consists of Anemone, Isolate, and Water Nicole. There's also the variation of Anemone, Isolate, and Methuselah, and of course we do have the introduction of Air, our upcoming water attacker, arriving soon. We also may see a rise in the monotype wood team, as it may possibly become viable due to the introduction of the upcoming wood healer Freya, if she manages to work well with Raffles and other wood units such as Fluttering Citrus. Now some players do run attackers on their teams, but they aren't very popular since most teams will have a debuffer with some sort of damage over time. For example, Ziva, Nautilus, Nicole, etc. Now for example here we do have my team, which consists of 3 debuffers, 1 support, and 1 defender. Now obviously this team isn't considered the meta composition as we had seen based on the top 100 rankings, but it does work to maintain Platinum 5 very easily. Now I personally find it best to reach Platinum 5 with as minimal investment as possible, as of course you won't need to invest into every single fresh PvP focused unit in order to maintain this rank. Now of course even if you did invest into the future PvP staple units, those units will always be able to flex into Endless Duel if they don't happen to make the cut onto your main Devil Rumble roster. So don't worry too much if you think you are investing into too many PvP units, as they'll always be able to flex into the Endless Duel, as well as the End Guard events, as they do consist of team restrictions, etc. Now as long as you play manually and fill your team with the commonly used units, you can very easily reach Platinum 5. Now Devil Rumble in my opinion should be your first priority on Destiny Child, as you earn the good majority of your monthly crystals from this area. So once you reach Platinum or High Gold and even Platinum 5, these ranks are very easy to maintain. As we mentioned earlier, the top 100 is a great place to find teams that are worth building. After all of these players are ranking within the top 100 of the server, so why not copy them? But if you're looking for some additional unit recommendations, let's get started with which units that I do recommend you all consider using on your team, considering the current state of Platinum 5. So first up here we have the attackers. Now of course as I mentioned, they aren't typically too popular in the Devil Rumble, but we may see some changes soon due to the introduction of the light type supporter Jakangbi, which will be arriving arriving with our next event. So light attackers such as Lassie as well as Dreamer Saturn may rise in priority, which is why I do have them listed here. As for the other options, we do have Ophiwace and Eve. As if you'd really like to use an attacker, then you can definitely consider these units here. As of course, I'm sure most of you did manage to receive Eve from the Lisa's extra lessons. Of course, make sure to only run one attacker, as more than one would honestly be too many. Next up here, everyone, we do have the recommended defenders here. Now, first of all, we do have Boreas, as I do believe she'll be very popular when the light type supporter Jakangbi does release. We also do have Clotho here, Maupin, and Raffles. As you've seen earlier, I am running Clotho myself, and she does the job just fine. So make sure to consider her, as well as Maupin if you're running the Mono Fire team. And of course, Raffles here if you would like to run a Wood team. And you should also consider Paquette due to her upcoming buffs, which will be arriving with our next update. Next up here, everyone, we have the debuffer category, which will take up the good majority of your team. As I did mention earlier, you should typically be running 3 to 4 debuffers on your main Devil Rumble team. So first up here, we do have Natalis, as of course, she is pretty much the core of the good majority of Devil Rumble teams. She's a staple unit in this area of the game, as well as the Endless Duel. So a very high investment priority for the Devil Rumble. She is also a light type unit, which may become very popular alongside light Jakangbi. We also do have Ziva here, which is on the good majority of Devil Rumble teams, as well as Fluttering Citri, alongside some of the water type debuffers, which holds part of the water team core in Nicole and of course Isolid. As for the next row of debuffer recommendations, everyone, we do have Bradamante here, as well as Notos, Limos, Ragaraja, and Pan. Now I would say Limos and Bradamante here do wonders if you are playing manually, especially Limos, as you probably won't even need to ignite to that unit, as due to her buffs, she's pretty strong. Now Bradamante and Notos are amazing options as well, as they do manage to slow down the enemy, and of course Notos does have stun. Now Ragaraja here can act sort of as a Natalis replacement for the Mono Fire team if you would like to use her, and she does just fine in Platinum 5. We also do have Pan here, which I do see sometimes, but she isn't considered too much of a staple compared to the other debuffers, but still an option nonetheless if you would like to consider running that unit. We also do have Bathory here, as she's seen sometimes, but she is falling out of priority. Now I do have her recommended here, as of course some of you may have picked her up from the Lisa's extra lessons, and she'll do just fine and help you reach Platinum pretty easily. We also do have Zini here, which can be considered as a Natalis substitution if you don't happen to have her, since Zini does happen to have Smite, Corrosion, and Allure in her kits. So like I mentioned earlier, your team should typically consist of 3 to 4 debuffers, and you should try to stay away from attackers and defenders when possible. Next up here, we do have the supports recommendations. Now we only have 3 recommendations here, as Anemone will be the highest priority since she is very flexible and is pretty much used on every single Devil Rumble team now. Due to her buffs, she's just a top tier unit and without a doubt should be your priority, and the good majority of you players should have her since she is free from the current Ragna break as well as the previous Ragna break. Now if you are watching this in the future, hopefully you did manage to obtain Anemone if the meta hasn't changed too much, and you should consider her for your team. Now we also have Thisbe here. If you don't happen to have Anemone invested into, then make sure to use Thisbe. She works just fine. As soon as you invest into Anemone, make sure to drop a Thisbe from your team. Now for the third recommendation, it will definitely be light Jakangbi. She will be a very strong light type supporter for the PvP. She will work very well with any elements, and of course if you consider the light type team, you could also consider running her on a mono light type team, as in the future we'll have an introduction of a light type unit named Vivian, which will work very well in the Devil Rumble. So that'll pretty much do it for the Devil Rumble team building guide here on the channel for September 2022. Now this guide may be updated depending on the meta shifts, but as of right now I would say those are the main recommendations for your Devil Rumble teams. Of course, as I mentioned plenty of times already, you should stack your team with at least 3 to 4 debuffers and 1 supporter. You can run a defender if you would like to, as well as an attacker. As you can see on my list here, it is possible to reach Platinum 5 with units that aren't as popular as the others. As you can see, we have a team with Bathory on the list, such as Eve, Thisbe, so it's definitely possible to reach this rank, as as long as you play manually and invest into units that are seen often, then you should very easily be able to reach platinum and beyond. Now, of course, equipment options and equipment will take their toll here, as you'll definitely need to invest into those, as I personally wouldn't be able to maintain this rank if it wasn't for equipment options and of course equipment in general. So make sure to put your best equipment forward, and of course when those double option events do roll around, make sure to use your crafting tools and crafting stones, as that event should be of high priority for the PvP and of course in PvE in general. As you can see, I do typically invest into my options quite a bit, as I do use them in other areas outside of PvP as well. So why not invest into them when the events are active, so you can easily maintain the Platinum 5 rank and of course perform better in other areas as well. Now I'll be sure to have a separate video dedicated to equipment and solo cartas, so make sure to stay tuned for that video. But in today's video, I did want to make sure to cover the typical units you see here in the Devil Rumble and suggest to you all units that are worth investing into for this game mode, and that'll help you reach platinum pretty easily. But anyways everyone, that'll pretty much do it for the Devil Rumble team guide here on the channel. As I mentioned earlier, this guide may be updated in the future, so make sure to stay tuned for those videos, and you can always make sure to check out the Destiny Child Global Guides playlist on my channel here to see if there are any more of these, and of course the Mona's Lessons playlist here on the channel for additional beginner guides. But before you go everyone, make sure to leave a like on this video, as well as make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below if you guys did find this video helpful, as well as check out channel memberships linked in the description box below if you're interested in further supporting the channel, and of course the other links to my Twitch live stream channel as well as to my Twitter account. But with all of that being said, I'll catch you all in the next Destiny Child video. As always, thank you all so much for watching.